All right. Parker and Ray from the Math and Physics podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How's it going, guys?
Good man, how are you?
Living the dream.
Absolutely. Going really well,
so,
going really well.
so
Both
everyone who's
mhm.
listening, we did our first episode for in regards to just this topic and another topic on UFOs and extraterrestrial beings on their podcast, Math and Physics. So definitely, I'm going to include the description and everything in this episode. So if you haven't listened to it, please check that out. And if you're coming from listening to their podcast, welcome. And I hope you enjoy our follow up, where we're going to primarily be focusing on AI and getting a little bit into consciousness and psychedelics a little bit as well too. I believe where we left off in the other episode, we were discussing language and just how vital it is to humanity, and how there is the potential that as we submerge more and more of AI, that perhaps there may be a shift in regards to language with things such as like Neuralink, where we're already
Mhm.
looking into ways in which we're communicating non-verbally, and
Mhm.
how that could be detrimental to our consciousness. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
So I haven't done like that much research into what Neuralink is actually going to provide, but I'm having trouble seeing how we're going to be able to communicate non-verbally. Obviously I'm not an expert in this field, but oh wait, one sec. Okay, never mind. Just my mic was being weird. Anyways, um I was saying that I'm not an expert on this topic, but I feel like there's a lot of advances that have to be made, and we're not like at that level yet to where you can just put a chip in your head and then automatically I can just start communicating with anybody who also has a chip. I
Mhm.
don't really I don't really at the same time I don't think that it would be that big of a detriment
So interestingly enough,
to
Neuralink is actually hosting trials starting the end of this year. This year. That means they're actually starting human-based trials, like putting this chip in these people's brains to see, if it, if this thing actually works. The only problem with this, and I believe there is also a video where Elon Musk is primarily showcasing how it fits into your brain, and how they had very many different tests on what possibility the device could look like. And he was showing how it attaches to different, I mean, I forgot the name of this video, but like he was showing how there are like different nodes that connect to different parts of your lobe in your brain, and that is able to communicate the information that you are, I guess thinking. Like, I don't truly, I mean, I'm very similar to Parker. I don't truly know. I haven't done insane amount of research when it comes to something like Neuralink, but
Mhm.
the premise, the notion, the idea of something where we can, communicate within or between people without physically opening our mouth is, I think, something that is almost like futuristic, right? Like we
Yeah,
thought in like the 1980s, this is gonna, like the 2000s, this is gonna be 1,000 years from now. That's our
right.
future, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think, to your point right there, I think that's a perfect segue in regards to discussing technological singularity and just that theory. And I think it also goes back to Parker, what you said in our conversation on your podcast in regards to Tesla and just the rapid uh, acceleration of our technological advancements. Do you think that we're almost at that point?
I don't think we are close.
No,
Not even close.
no, no, no.
Um,
Hmm.
Essentially, it's very hard to think about this the right way because there isn't really a right way to think about it. Um, One reason is because we haven't experienced it before, and it's most definitely an irreversible process within our civilization, right? Like
You
what?
want to just like, because just to make sure anyone who's listening is
Okay, yeah, for
following,
sure.
you want to like just walk us through what exactly technological singularity like
Mm-hmm.
means, and like what it means for humanity.
For sure. So the technological singularity is basically right now we are like programming machines to learn things on their own. One example is I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dota 2, but it's a
Oh,
video
you're talking about
game.
Google? Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so Google essentially um are you guys hearing only one side to my mic? Because on my
No,
recording software, it's showing me only once. Anyways,
it's all good.
so okay,
Yeah,
that
no, you're
works.
good.
That's good. Okay, so and Google made an AI bot where basically it could play itself millions of times, like at the same time. And every single game, it would like, obviously the very first few games, it would just like do nothing. And it would realize that, okay, well, doing nothing won't win you the game. So obviously, the more it played, the more it picked up on techniques. And, very quickly, it became the greatest Dota player of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, it's the exact same thing, except instead of playing video games, it's just learning things in general, right? Um, uh, I'm talking about like what's going to lead to the technological singularity. And so it'll get to the point where, and we are not close to this at all, by the way, but it'll get to the point where you will have a machine that is so intelligent that it could teach itself new material, right? Become more intelligent and become even better at teaching itself more quickly. And then that process just keeps cycling back, and it'll become so good at teaching itself that it will essentially know everything, right? And at that point where the machine knows absolutely everything, it's going to be, that is the technological singularity where um we basically we transcend our our limitations as humans,
Mm-hmm.
because this machine will be like it's so hard to put it into perspective how powerful this machine will be, because one example that I always like to think about is that this machine will be so intelligent that it will like scan obviously all of the resources that humans have and all of like the documents from history and everything, and it will be so intelligent that it will be able to um, basically reproduce history as we know it exactly how it went down. And
Mm-hmm.
for example, it'll be able to tell us exactly how the pyramids were built based on everything we have, like all of the evidence we have in the present day. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how powerful this machine will be. It'll be able to tell us how the Big Bang happened. It'll be able to tell us what happened before the Big Bang. And I know, okay, this is very controversial, obviously.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
um,
Okay, a lot of things.
but
Yeah,
but
continue.
it's not okay. It's not going to be able to tell us what happened before the Big Bang, but it'll be able to give an explanation that supersedes the Big Bang theory in an incredible way. It'll be able to explain the universe so much better than we are today. Like it'll be the most intricate explanation that makes so much sense that we won't even be able to like comprehend exactly what it's saying. It'll be that insane.
Okay,
Wow.
few things. Few things. First off, it wasn't Google AI that did it. It was Open AI, which was actually part of Elon Musk's. Elon Musk founded it, and the Open AI bot is actually what beat the Dota 2 players. The Google
Hmm.
AI was responsible for the planets in the Goldilocks zone. So maybe, yeah, that was on the Hubble. That was on space telescopes and stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, so I guess that idea of the technological singularity is basically what it is, but it's kind of a region of technology where technology evolves faster than we do. That's basically the whole idea, that there comes this point where technology is evolving and so is the human race. And as we are evolving and as we are growing as a civilization, we're also creating this technology. So there might one day come this point. Okay, so a small technical difficulty just occurred, and I think we're all good. We're back. So yeah. So as I was saying, I was talking about how the technological singularity symbolizes or will occur at a point where technology almost learns or evolves faster than we can make it. So where a point in life where technology, basically, as Parker, as you were saying, teaches itself, right? And that is a very big part of, what we can go deeper into artificial intelligence, right? But going back a few minutes when we were talking about Neuralink, I kind of want to talk about the pet pig. I got the name. Oh yes, it was Gertrude, the pet pig, the first test subject of Neuralink. Yeah, the name of the pig was Gertrude, and the idea was to place the Neuralink into the pig's brain. And I'm pretty sure the pig had Alzheimer's or dementia or some kind of brain disease. And the idea was that this implant in the brain will be able to solve a lot of these problems that today we simply don't know how to solve. So previously we were, really attacking Neuralink and, oh, it's really cool, but it's not going to happen for 50 years. But what they're trying to do right now, the immediate consequence of Neuralink, is to solve, basically diseases in the brain that we can't solve without, truly getting in the brain. But the problem is everyone doesn't want to open up their brain to solve to solve a problem. So what Neuralink would be able to do is to, simply help hopefully cure neurological diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. And if that would occur, that itself is a scientific breakthrough. So the trials are going to occur later this year. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen.
No, yeah, it's super super fascinating, and for anyone listening, I'm actually gonna have someone in the academic field who studies deeply the topic of Alzheimer's and dementia on the podcast in a couple of weeks, which should be really exciting, and we'll dive into that a bit deeper. But one thing you mentioned while we were offline, really quickly, and I want you to elaborate a bit more, is the distinguishable factors between machine learning and AI and how we kind of misconstrue that.
Yeah. So the common idea or the perception of artificial intelligence is, well, anything that teaches itself, we can say, oh, it's AI, it's artificial intelligence, because, well, it's intelligent, it's teaching itself. But that is kind of the common misconception that I kind of wanted to talk about, because the very big and fundamental difference between machine learning and AI is that AI is a superset of machine learning. Machine learning is a very small subset of what artificial intelligence can truly achieve. So what machine learning is, and very similar to, so Dota 2, like the Dota 2 AI bot that we were talking about, technically is a machine learning bot. It's not necessarily an artificially intelligent bot, because what machine learning is basically you're telling the computer to do something without you actually telling it to do it. That's basically the whole idea of machine learning, that you code or you program a certain code, and you tell the machine how to learn. You tell it what to do so that it can learn, but you don't tell it what is right and what is wrong. It learns itself. So the idea, obviously the initial stages, you obviously have to tell the machine this is right, this is wrong, and it keeps learning from those mistakes, and then it makes better and better judgment. Even the Dota 2 bot, the AI bot, it was pretty garbage in the very beginning stage. It's only once it kept playing itself over millions and millions of iterations is when it truly became the best bot in the world. So
and
the
something interesting about that. Sorry, I just wanted to say, because you mentioned the Dota 2 bot, something really interesting about that is when the top players in the world were going against the 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 machine learning bot,
Yeah.
basically they were noticing that it was doing some really weird like tactics, like things that they've never seen before. And obviously these guys like play every single day and they're the best in the world, so they've seen like a lot of tactics and they study like these things every single day. And as they were playing the bot, obviously the bot destroyed them because it has, you know, years, like millions of hours of experience under its belt, and it knows, like it knows even like details about the game that like humans have not picked up on yet. Like
Mhm.
like in one of the games, like this is just an example, like let's say during one of the games it noticed that if you had like one pixel in the right position, you were able to reach like a certain part of the map that would give you some kind of advantage. Like humans would never pick up on that,
Mhm.
but but with its like insane experience and learning ability, and throughout like its millions of games, it was able to find like advantages in the game that appeared very odd to
Mhm.
human players. But after they finished the game, they're like, oh, like this is absolutely insane. Like they just discovered like something that we've never seen before. And the same thing also goes with chess. The same type of bot was developed for chess, and it would play these like weird moves that like the best chess players would never think of doing. They're like, okay, well, this is just like a super odd move. I'm just going to keep playing as I would normally. And then, 10 moves down the line, they would see the point of that really weird move that the bot did. And they're like, oh my God, I am getting completely destroyed because of that one move.
And
And so,
yeah.
yeah, it basically just supersedes like human capabilities.
Hmm.
Was
So
the point of that? Yeah.
in that Dota example, actually, if you like that, the game is available to watch online, right? Like it's a very popular video on YouTube, and you can even see that in the very beginning, it's not actually that good. Like I'm pretty sure the players I'm pretty sure they beat the AI bot, but as they play more and more games, I think like the second or third or fourth game, that is where the whole idea of machine learning comes in, right? Because they're learning, the machine is literally learning the move sets and what different things these guys are doing and the best ways to combat them. So by the third and fourth game, these guys had absolutely zero chance of even taking a single, I mean, I don't know how Dota's played, but like of even winning, they had zero chance. So that is mainly what we regard machine learning. Now, artificial intelligence is something that is far broader and something that is a lot deeper, in my opinion, that is a lot farther to reach. Like machine learning, we already know how to do that because it exists. How to program machine learning. It's all these very, very popular, things online that you can see. Artificial intelligence, though, is something very different. And Julian and I were talking about this right before, as it was off, about Westworld. So if any of the listeners have seen the show Westworld, you will understand what artificial intelligence really means. So context, basically, there are machines that have been given by humans consciousness. And in the very beginning of the show, they're completely controlled by the humans because they have a certain level of, tasks to follow. But as the show continues, you see their consciousness evolve and the machines understanding that they are not machines, that or sorry, machines understanding that they are machines and not human beings because they had programmed to believe that they were humans. So as the show progresses, the main point I'm trying to get to here is that they understand that they are conscious beings. And when we reach that level where we can provide a machine with a consciousness, that would be true artificial intelligence because they would be artificially intelligent, would be able to, teach themselves. And well, it's all dependent on how we define the word intelligence. And in today's day and age, we define intelligence via conscious being, and can understand its surroundings. So that would be the biggest difference between them, and that's why artificial intelligence so much harder and so much farther away to reach.
Right. That's really well said. And I think that, like, for anyone listening, that definitely provides a lot of clarity. So I think one thing I'm thinking of while you guys are speaking. So I think we've aligned on the fact that we're nowhere near the fact of, getting to the point of true artificial intelligence to the
Hmm.
context of like the general consensus. In regards to machine learning, it seems like we pretty much are there, uh,
Hmm.
based off everything that we've spoken about. What do you think the impact of this machine learning is going to have in the near future for us?
Hmm.
And if you want, I can like be more specific with the question. Like, basically, I'm trying to get to the point of the impact that it's already having and it will have in regards to, for instance, jobs that are
Mhm.
low skill jobs, and
Hmm.
the working class who will basically see their careers just dissipate very soon. Truck
Mhm.
drivers, cashiers, jobs that, from a machine learning aspect, we can easily
Hmm.
get that taken care of. Like,
Mhm.
what do you think the impact will be?
Yeah, I definitely think the example that you brought up of truck drivers is like like a direct application of machine learning. Like Tesla right now, like all of the cameras that a Tesla has, um, like sends the videos to like a database that Tesla has and that analyzes and that learns from like specific events that happen. Like for example, there was a video that someone posted on YouTube where he was driving on the highway and there was like a lane that was ending, but because the sun was shining like on a specific like line, the cameras thought that the sun was the line of the road, and so it kept going straight into like a cinder block basically that was cutting off the lane, and the driver noticed it right away and he like swerved off into the other lane. But that video, as soon as something like that happens, you can like there's an option on in the Tesla where you can send that specific instance to the like Tesla database, I guess, where it can get analyzed, and the software itself will directly learn from those instances.
Hmm.
And so, as we speak, the software is getting better and better, and it's going to get to the point where you literally don't need a driver in the seat. Right now it's not that good, right? I don't know if anyone's ever been in a Tesla. It always says on the screen, if you take your hands off the wheel, it says like always keep one hand on the wheel, because
Hmm.
obviously there's legal implications to like not reminding people to actually pay attention to the road. But there will be a time where it will be more safe to not have a driver in your car than to have a driver in your car. And it will have implications with like insurance, like car insurance, where they will literally say like, okay, your insurance will be cut like in half, for example, if you get a self-driving car,
Yeah.
because it will be that safe.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I forgot where I read or watched this, but like someone was talking about how with Tesla, they basically, the goal is that it's gonna get to a certain point where the machine learning with the cars is so effective and efficient, and like to your point, we're gonna get to a point where self-driving cars is just gonna be so much of a thing. They basically look at Tesla, like Tesla's big selling point is that if you buy a regular car, the value depreciates. If you buy a Tesla, that's not the case. And they're saying how Tesla supposedly is trying to basically kill the competition in regards to Lyft and Uber, to the point where if you have a Tesla, you could just have it be a self-driving Uber driver and make money off of it. So like, if you pay, I don't know how much a Tesla is, like 80,000 or whatever, you could potentially make like $30,000 a year
Hmm.
off of the Tesla just driving people autonomously.
But that's not legal yet.
No,
Well,
no,
yeah,
not yet.
yeah. None of this is legal. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
it's similar to the insurance thing. It's
yeah.
just like it's in theory for now, but it's
Hmm.
like something that's in high
No,
likelihood going to
I
occur.
totally believe that.
So
Like
recently,
that
actually,
is
I think,
where,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so recently, I okay, maybe not recently, but I think sometime last year, like in that kind of time frame, yeah, Tesla announced that they had over 1 billion miles of footage to learn from. So as you were saying, Parker, uh, Tesla has all of these all of these videos, all of this information that it then stores and basically learns from. And I mean, not the algorithm, and the program regarding to how it learns is clearly very, very, very good. Because I still remember when Tesla started to get rolled out, there were a lot of accidents. There were a lot of like, oh my God, is Tesla going to fail as a company because so many people are dying and lawsuits and stuff like that. And you can see that as time progresses, how efficient it has got. Like now it is safer to drive in a Tesla than it is to in any car. It has the highest secure, no, not security rating, the crash rating of any car. Plus, if it detects a possible collision, it will swerve for you. Like something like that is something that you can, like there are very many videos on the internet that you can search for where Tesla avoids almost crash or something like that, where it detects that the guy in the front has probably braked really hard and it brakes or something like that, something along those lines. And obviously right now, as we were saying, I don't think we're really near the full autonomy, because that would like require a lot of legal implications too, for just there to not be your driver is something very different, right? Than like if it crashes, then what, who do you blame? Do you not blame anyone? If it just runs over someone, what
Hmm.
happens? So there are a lot of
Right.
problems when it comes to that. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think the idea of a truly autonomous vehicle is something that the reason it could be safer is actually because I was thinking, right? Let's say 100, 200 years in the future or something, when obviously travel would be a lot more essential than it is probably now. I don't know. This, if we have fully autonomous vehicles, they can travel at 200 kilometers an hour without having a problem. Why can't we as humans go fast? Because our reaction time is not as good. Because we can't, if we're going 200 kilometers an hour and I don't know, someone swerves or something happens, we're like, oh crap, crash, right? So that's why, okay, no one go 200 kilometers an hour. But the thing is, if all vehicles become autonomous and they can communicate with each other, that would be truly legendary, because at that point we would have almost zero collisions. Reason being, all of these vehicles are or I guess subconsciously is the wrong word, but like beneath the hood, they're all communicating with each other. So if one car wants to turn left, it will alert the cars in its neighborhood. Interestingly enough, I was actually at a hackathon a few years ago, which is kind of like a computer programming event. And the winner of that hackathon had actually created a software where you can randomly generate cars that go that will either turn left, right. Obviously, it's a very simple, like it's not directly realistic, but the idea is these cars go in random directions. The point is each car alerts the cars beside them and there are no traffic signals, there's nothing, because if you want to turn left, you don't need to wait for anyone, you just need to tell the cars around you that, hey, I'm going left. That's the best idea. So what the system does is the car itself communicates with the cars around it and basically gets completely rid of the traffic signal. Much higher speeds are possible, and increase in safety. And something like that, I think, is the biggest benefit of fully autonomous vehicles, communication, speed, and
Right.
safety.
Right. And I agree. And I think that, just in general, with a lot of things that we can autonomize, there's great value there, especially like, you think of jobs that maybe are dangerous for people to do. And like
Mm.
you can like, automate that and make it so that there's no longer that necessity. What do you think will end up being the outcome in regards to these jobs disappearing? Do you think that there will be positions that will replace them that people can take? Do you think that UBI will need to be looked into? Because I think one of the things from like books that I read and from just like my own thinking that like it seems to be a bit of a problem is that it seems that inevitably, and I don't think we're anywhere near this, but you'll get to a certain point where everything can be automated and done at such an efficient rate that there will there'll obviously be um some professions that you'll still need that human touch for, like, one of the books I read, like they're saying when you look at the difference between a doctor and a doctor, it's very like, it's by the book, it's very just like analyzing and assessing, while the nurse is you need that human touch with the nurse a bit more, because like she can like look and like see how you're feeling, and like, like has
Mm-hmm.
to like, do all these certain things where like you need that personal element to it. But like I think that there's a lot of jobs that people have that eventually will be automated out, and these will be people who come from, very modest means, who may from an educational standpoint like not either be willing or able to like, go back and
Mm-hmm.
learn something brand new. Like if you're like a 60-year-old person, like, and you've been driving trucks your whole life, like
Mm,
you think this person's gonna like have the capacity to like,
Mm-hmm.
right.
maybe some might, but like most
Yeah.
probably won't. So like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think that it will be some kind of like natural selection process
Mm-hmm.
where essentially like all jobs that can be replaced by machines will be replaced by machines. It just makes more sense, right? And even if that means like, let's say for example, there are like millions of truck drivers in the US alone, right? Now imagine how many resources it takes to, now this is pretty like this is pretty crude, but I don't know, like how many resources does it take to keep those people alive, you know? Like how many resources are those people taking up, that like water and
Okay.
energy and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm not saying I'm
Yeah,
not
I
saying
don't like where you're going, man. Like, I
Yeah,
think it
I'm not
implies.
sure where you're going with this.
listen,
He's
listen.
like,
I'm
Be
let's
saying
kill
careful,
them
man.
all.
no,
Be
no.
careful.
I'm not saying kill them all. What I'm saying is that naturally, as these jobs start getting replaced, right? Like it's not as if we're going to be killing them. I'm just saying like eventually they're going to retire, and then that truck is going to be replaced with an self-driving truck,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be a gradual process. But what you're not going to see are new truck drivers entering the business, right? And so over time, the population of truck drivers is just going to decrease until it hits zero, right? But if you think about like that entire population that that would go into truck driving, like millions of people, and the amount of resources and energy that they take, that would be like a significant chunk, and that's not even including the emissions from the transportation industry that would be replaced with electric vehicles. But I'm just saying, like the water, the energy, the power, the electricity, all that stuff that a human takes, and I forget the exact numbers, but I think in like the US or in North America in general, like one child takes up like 1,000 times more resources than like a child in a third world country, right? And so literally not having a kid in the US is saving the earth. And so like kind of to bring that into like back into what I was saying about truck drivers, like AI is going to like indirectly literally free up resources for the people that need it, right? Because
Yeah.
there is a drought of resources, and it's clear, right? The first world countries have too much, and the third world countries don't even have enough, and it's very clear. And I do think that a direct like or sorry an indirect consequence from having AI is going to be a better distribution of resources all throughout the world.
Okay, even though that's one way to think about it, that yes, AI will free up a lot of these jobs. I think another, the flip side is AI will also be creating so many jobs. How, you might ask? Well, who's going to be making the AI? Right? Who's going to be making sure that it's maintained? Because remember, at the end of the day, if we are talking about artificial intelligence, you know, we have to make sure that it's regulated. We can't just let it do whatever it wants,
I
right?
don't think I agree with that.
So
There's no way it's
so you
gonna.
think there's going to be a time, because see, there has to be a person that actually makes the program, right, for it
Okay,
to run
that's for sure. But here's the thing:
and
there is no
maintain it.
way.
You don't
There
believe
is
that there was
no.
anyone that needs to maintain
But
the
Rayhan, think about this. There's no way that there are going to be as many
Right.
like truck drivers right
Yeah.
now as there are technicians
That's
to
literally what I was
watch for.
thinking. Yeah, like
There's no
yeah,
way.
like the it's not going to be like equivalent to the amount of people who, like, in my opinion, and to the amount of people who will be losing their jobs. But not only that, like, I think it goes back to the whole, capacity of these individuals to even, you know, transfer over to those jobs. Like, I think that, you know, like when we look at our population, especially in America, like like we're not that great in math, we're not that there's lots of flaws from that standpoint. So I just feel like there's just the inevitable nature of people being left behind as things become advanced. And I think like the thing that I'm fearful of is that there will be those people who, of modest means, who, their intellect is not to the level of being able to, program things and stuff, and there'll be no use for them.
You are
Hmm.
correct, I think, in what you're saying, where like immediately speaking, like yeah, if let's say tomorrow all the trucks had gone autonomous or something like that, yeah, the 50-year-old 60-year-olds who are in it, yeah, they probably wouldn't really have much of a career ahead of them. But I think in the long run, like after maybe autonomy or self-driving becomes a common, a stable resource, and or not resource, but a common thing to occur, like a self-driving car, you see that everywhere. Like I think once that occurs, I think, because see, humans always find a way to make a living. Like I don't think you can say just because these truck drivers will no longer have a job, and because all of these jobs have now been made autonomous, that doesn't, I don't think that necessarily implies that this bulk of people will simply stay at their level, as you said, like with modest means, probably not very intelligent. Well, if these guys with modest means, probably not that intelligent, see that the world around them is now so advanced, they will have no option. But if they want to live, they will have to learn, they will have to, increase, or have to be part of this technological world now. So they will almost have no option but to include themselves or to learn more if they want to live. Survival instinct, simply being, happy, living in a good house, in a good neighborhood. Like for that, you need, certain requirements, certain resources, and a job is a very fundamental one of them. And if you lose it, I'm not, as I said, I don't think the first 30, 40 years would, like, those people will still be suffering. But in the long run, the people who were less intelligent will naturally, I believe, kind of be forced to expand their horizons and learn more, so that they can have a potential job in these kind of societies.
Julian, I want to know what you think about the like population issue, because obviously overpopulation is a problem, and like to me the most obvious solution is to limit the like birthing rate essentially.
Oh yeah,
And
I
Wow,
think
that's
that
deep.
yeah.
yeah, no, well,
Limit the
I,
wow.
I think that, well, first and foremost, I feel like throughout human history, one of the things that has always been an issue, like an underlying issue, is the tug of war of resources. That's just something, a story as old as time. And I do think I agree with you. There's way too many fucking people on the planet. Like it's ridiculous. It's really
Yeah.
ridiculous how many people there are. I like I think that the thing is there's no good way to
Mm-hmm.
really instill and control and stabilization. I think the thing that you could like so I'm not for, you know, mandating or like, you know, controlling people on like on their procreation and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, you know, I know China does that, not for that. But I think that one thing you can do that can inherently uh just by nature help, like just naturally help to mitigate the growth of the population is education. Like it's that's a statistical fact that the high, and I did an episode on education, check it out, that was the last episode I did for the last season. But the higher level of education you have, the more likely it is that you either aren't going to have kids, or there'll be a limitation on how many kids you have,
The less
because
kids that you'll have,
yeah, the
kind of.
less kids that you'll
Hmm.
have, because you're at a higher level of intellect and education. You're going to be so busy with the productivity and the things in which you're doing that you're not even going to have time for kids because of, you know, your aspirations and goals.
Hmm.
Like you just look at like when once women, like, you know, women's rights like started to um increase, and like they went into the workforce and all of these other things, you saw that there was a decrease in the amount of children that they were having. And I think that if that's something that's, you know, the consensus across the world, you will see that that impact.
Do you think that's gonna happen quick enough though?
Well, I think one of the things that could potentially help us is that the boomer generation is dying off, like, and I'm not like saying that like, you know, yay, they're dying, but like
It's just
you
a
have
fact.
this, yeah, it's just a fact. And like you look at that generation, there's a lot of people, like, because there were a lot of people who like had a lot of kids then. And like you see that like once that generation is gone, you know, I feel like all the generations after that, like there's just a trickle effect of like people having less and less kids. And I think like once like you like kind of accelerate to the point where the generations prior to ours are gone, I feel like that's kind of gonna stabilize, uh at least in the United States, the you know, population.
Hmm.
But third world countries, that's definitely a
Hmm.
thing that needs to be mitigated as well,
Yeah,
especially in
yeah.
China.
I think as you mentioned, education is like a very fundamental property of something like this. You know, like education would definitely 100% help something, so like a problem like overpopulation, right? Just understanding the world we live in, because a lot of people, like, you know, kind of alluding to what we were talking about on our podcast, like a lot of people don't appreciate the fact that we're here, you know, that we are living. And if we look, so interestingly enough, in our in Parker, in my last semester of university, we had an astronomy class where we were talking about climate change, and we were talking about how, you know, there's, I kind of forgot what it's called, but there's basically like a climate cycle that has existed for basically forever, you know, and it basically goes up and down. It's kind of like a sinusoid, so it always goes up and down and up and down, and temperature rises, drops, rises, and it basically follows a very well defined pattern. However, since the technology and then the industrial, no, not even the industrial, but since like the technological revolution and all technology coming in, and all of these different needs, necessities that we now have, we have such a great spike, such a enormous spike in climate change, and basically how the world is responding to what we're doing to it, that it is simply unsustainable. We If we continue producing and, you know, evolving the same way we do, and I'm talking about like in the industry format, we will not last very long. We will not last very long. And this is actually, I saw this on a quick interview with Bill Gates, where he almost certainly predicted the fact that there was going to be like, he was asked in I think he gave like a TEDx talk or something, where he was talking about how the next big thing to affect the world will not be a war, will not be, you know, like a resource battle, but it will be a global pandemic. It's going to be a virus. And he said this years back, and everyone's like, oh my God, no way this guy knew this. So now naturally everyone's asking him now, okay, well, what do you think is going to happen next? And the thing he said is the thing that I see, closest or the most prominent danger to the earth is climate change. And with the rapid expansion of how fast we are, increasing production and basically destroying the earth, like it is a matter of time. It's not if, but when that we have no other option but, to leave the earth, because it is simply uninhabitable for us at that point. So like, what do you think about the idea that we would be so screwed because of what we've been doing to the earth that we would be forced to leave the planet? Or do you think that we'll just find another way? Because I think this is a popular discussion.
I personally think that it's really like right now, and it's kind of crazy, like right now in the times that we're living in right now, like
Mm-hmm.
the things that we do and that we decide to do as a collective group will really predicate like what is to come moving forward. I think that climate change is one of those things where it's mind-boggling to me that there are people who just think that it's completely fake
I
and fabricated.
can't understand
um
them.
yeah, I don't really understand it. This actually makes me think of I don't know if you guys have watched the cartoon Big Mouth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like the I don't think it was the last episode, but one of the episodes, one of the characters like he had a dream of like him in the future, the main guy, and it's like 30 years in the future, and basically the like he's like this big famous guy, and he gets a message that basically the planet is about to be done tomorrow, but that there's a special ship that's gonna take him to like another planet that they can inhabit, and he gets a +1. And while this is just a cartoon and it's just a joke, I feel like that's something that I could genuinely see occur. And I think that, one of the things that's kind of ironic, but like in a fucked up way in regards to our planet and our species, is that, we're talking about, you know, climate change, we're talking about population control, we're talking about resources. And when you look at how disproportionate the resources are distributed and how it impacts everybody, and then like you take into account, okay, so there's a fraction of the population absorbs the majority of the resources that impacts everyone in a negative way. And then when it comes to like what you do once you like have to reap the the
The
negative,
consequences.
yeah, the consequences of what you did, the people who are responsible for it are the ones who are more likely than not come out of it all right, while everyone else
Mm-hmm.
ceases to exist, and like their lineage is just eradicated.
Mhm. I
And I think that that kind of ties well into just the whole machine learning and AI thing, because I feel like when it comes to who's going to reap the benefits, I think yes, like I think generally everyone will, but who will really reap the benefits, it's going to be the wealthy, it's going to be the
Mm-hmm.
people who are in a place right now where they have the money to like dole out the cash to the people who are going to create these things, and reap the revenue that will be tied to all of these technological advancements. And it's like, yes, the people who are poor right now and who have shitty circumstances, their circumstances will improve, but like I think the class struggle that we have is going to only get worse.
I
Mm-hmm.
have an issue with, I mean, again, it's only a cartoon, but when you said like the main character was like this famous guy who got an invitation to get on the ship and just leave, right? I think like my problem with that is the people who have like access to like building the ship and deciding who goes on that ship. I highly doubt that like actors and like
Oh yeah, yeah.
influencers
No,
and things
yeah,
like
of
that
course not.
will be even close to getting an invitation on that ship. I think it will be purely like scientists and like people who actually have something to like contribute to
Hmm.
migrating to a different planet and hopefully having a like chance to restart.
I mean, that's the
I
whole
think it'll be a
point of.
mixture.
Sorry.
Really?
Oh, sorry. Well, I like I agree with you. I definitely think, because like the person who'd own the ship hypothetically or whatever, you want smart people. You want like the people who will be able to, create solutions to the potential problems that you'll have. But in addition to them, do you not think that the CEOs of the major corporations
But they
won't,
don't have value.
Yeah,
Like
they
but
don't
they'll
have
just
value?
pay them.
Yeah, they don't have value, but they have money. They have
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, but
influence.
think about this. You need to separate yourself from the idea of what is valuable on Earth and what is valuable somewhere else. Like if
Well,
you have
yeah,
money, what are you going to do with that money once you're on Mars?
I hear what you're saying, but also how do you think that ship is being created? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
that
it's,
is
And
true.
that's what I'm saying.
you know,
That's
like
exactly what I
that.
was just
That
Yeah.
gonna
is
bring that
true.
up.
That is
Like
true.
it was created with money. Like it was made with a certain amount of money that the owner or the hypothetical owner probably put into it, so he would need some back. So like obviously the first person he would go to is people who are really rich. Now I'm saying if you would want to truly advance humanity, you would take scientists. But if you want to fill your own pockets, you would need, people like this. And I mean that's the whole point of Elon Musk's hopeful colonization on Mars, right? To hopefully get every day you and me in onto onto the red planet. For example, not an example, but what's happening recently. I think by the end of this year, there are 3 people already who have signed up for the first ever commercial space flight. And obviously, SpaceX is the one responsible for doing this. And obviously, because this is the first one, this is enormous amounts of money. Like this one guy who is, I guess, piloting the craft is trying to raise like $200 million for all these different funds and foundations and whatever. And the other 2 people who are going on the flight have paid $55 million each. So it's not a cheap ticket. But the idea is that if we can do this, if we can send non-astronauts to space, we have basically proven that anyone can go to space. Now, obviously, these are the guys that have money, but 20, 30 years from now, it should be like a little more expensive plane ticket. Like you want to go see the Earth from 100,000 kilometers up? Well, it's going to be 10 grand. Like 10
Mm.
grand might be a lot compared to an air ticket, but if you want to see the world, it's not that much. So the idea is to commercialize this space flight, and that would be a very big step into commercializing travel to other planets.
So it seems like from what both of you guys are saying, so like I feel like there definitely seems to be a very polar opposite viewpoint of the future in tech. Like it feels like Ray, you seem a bit more optimistic.
Yes,
And
very much so.
Parker, I feel like I'm getting more of the doom and gloom from you.
No, no way, no way. What I'm saying, and it's like it's a sad reality, but there are a lot of like useless people roaming the earth. Like
That's so
like
sad to say, man. Hey,
and
you're
in
you.
terms of usefulness, I'm just talking about like what are you adding, right? Like if you can take a second right now, close your eyes and think to yourself, what are you adding to the planet? Like what are you doing to like promote saving the environment,
But that's the
saving the
thing. I
human
don't
race
think
and things
everyone
like
on
that?
Earth
Yeah.
would need to be like that. Like there are some
But
people that
let me
simply
finish. Let me
enjoy the
finish.
fact of life.
But just let me finish, okay?
Okay, continue.
I'm just saying, I'm saying that in the future, there will be less people, just point blank. There will be less people, and the people that are going to be like chilling, right? The like there's gonna be like some purpose to their life, right? It's not gonna be wake up and flip burgers all day, right? It's gonna have to add something, and this is just going to be a natural process, and it's not some type of doomsday like event. It's just gonna happen naturally with time, and you know I'm not I'm not for the idea that like some type of Skynet situation is going to play out in the future, because I have actually talked about this. I think this was the episode where we talked about, is math even real, um, on our podcast. And I said the fact that, you know, once machines become intelligent, and much more intelligent than humans, they will not see like a need for like territorial behavior and like and wars and like violence, basically, because they'll basically understand that like there is no point, like like starting a war. What is the point? You know, it's because one president has beef with another world leader and they're like, you know what, we don't like you. It's not going to be the same with machines. They don't have like, they don't care. You know, we can take out their batteries and then, you know, they shut off for the rest of their lives. They don't care. It doesn't matter. And so like, I think there are not going to be any like severe downsides to coexisting with technology in the future. Basically, like it's not going to be like some crazy like flipping of the tables where they start invading everybody and then like we get bit in the ass for that.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't really see. Yeah, well, I mean, there's no way I see that either. Like, I don't see technology like, just revolting against us. But a lot of people have the theory, interestingly enough, that they're like, hey, these guys made me. That means they're superior to me. But then when they learn more and more, given that's the thing. A lot of people argue that given technologies, uh lifespan, and assuming that they have, like, we reach this point where we can say that they're artificially intelligent, they will destroy us, right? Like, a lot of people think of that, but the question is, the reason we think that is because of the base human instinct of colonization, and of, oh, if I have to be the only civilization, I have to be the top, I have to be. So the idea that we think that technology will destroy us is under the assumption that they have human instincts, which they
Mm-hmm.
don't. So that's actually one kind of argument to a lot of people who believe, oh, AI should be terrible. And I know Elon Musk is a big advocate for hating on AI, because he believes that all this stuff, like, is just going to destroy us, and all that good stuff.
Right.
But I
Well,
don't really
do
see
you
that.
think?
Yeah.
Do you think though? Because to your point, like that, like it would have to be like that's like a very very drastic and obviously nihilistic perspective in regards to it. But do you think that the the thing that will really be the determining factor on this is who exactly is it who's creating these machines? And like, because like in anything that we're talking about in regards to programming and algorithms and everything, like there are just going to be some inherent biases within certain things based off of who creates it. Like for instance, with that facial recognition technology that was created, where apparently it was better at recognizing white people versus black people, and there was issues because they were like looking to sell this to the government to like help find people, and like they found that it was really really good at like assessing and finding the right people who were white, but when it came to anyone who was darker, didn't even necessarily have to be black, just not white, it was not that good. And one of the things that they said, well, yeah, that makes sense because this was coded and created by a bunch of white guys. So, of course, it was going to be better for that. Do you think that that's kind of the same thing when it comes to just like our perception and like thoughts in regards to how, AI would, be?
I think,
That's a
yeah, I
good
think,
point.
yeah, that is actually
I
a
don't
really
think
good
so.
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I,
I
I
don't think
actually,
so.
yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, I was just gonna say that, independent of who is like coding this machine learning system, whatever, at some point when it starts like teaching itself, it's going to make like realizations, right, that will like separate itself from its creators, kind of like when you grow up and become an adult and you don't need your parents
Mhm.
anymore and you can make your own decisions, right? Of course, like they'll still, I mean, obviously this is all speculation. I don't actually know
Right,
for
right.
sure, but that's just my opinion.
I think a big part of it, I actually have quite a little different opinion, because I believe that technology, right, like the way we perceive it. Wait, my brain just glitched. Wait, my brain fully just glitched. I just forgot what we were talking about. 1 second. Wait, sorry, what was the question again?
We were talking about just your thoughts in regards to biases
Oh, yes, yes,
and
yes, yes, yes.
AI.
Yeah, okay, okay. Wow, that was sorry. Yeah. So I think one very fundamental part, or about all this artificial intelligence and machine learning, is the core code, the core programming, right? And I believe that that cannot be overwritten. I mean that's the hope, right? Like, for example, and I can kind of give this example with, if let's say your parents brought you up in a certain way, and you've been disciplined in a certain way, even if you forget all of that, there are still some core beliefs, some core, fundamentals to how you view the world that will probably be different from everyone else. But that core fundamental belief, that system, will be in place, will be intact, and that cannot be broken. So when you bring up the idea that, oh, facial recognition software can be biased, I still think that there could be, absolutely, in the future, that bias artificial intelligence, because it all depends. I think it does depend actually on who programs it, because based on that core programming, like, for example, as I said, machine learning, the point is to teach it how to learn, not necessarily what it should do, right? You're simply saying, what do you do so that you can learn? If you have a certain blockade, or if you have a certain, restriction in those core codes, those fundamental codes, then, to my knowledge at least, unless, I don't know, the computer program can overwrite that, which until now it can't, it will not be able to overwrite that. And that will, in fact, be, create a bias. So to answer your question, I do believe that the software, the artificial intelligence that we one day might create, will depend directly on who programs it. Simply because if that person wishes to do evil, or I don't know, I'm just thinking of movies and stuff, but if that person wishes to do evil or do good or something like that, that would reflect that would be reflected in the core programming of that artificially intelligent being. And I think, yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I do believe so. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So, before we wrap up, I want to get your guys's just go crazy. Give me um your theory in regards to where human civilization will be 50 years from now.
Wow. 50 years, I think, is too less of a timeline,
Okay,
too
fine, 100. How
small.
about 100?
100. Okay. I see. The thing is, we are expanding and we are accelerating right now, technologically speaking, at such a high rate that it's not linear anymore. It's very much exponential. Like, we're having all of these insane advancements in technology, as we were talking about earlier. Neuralink, something like that, will revolutionize what we think of, diseases in the brain and stuff like that. And understanding, there's so many programs that relate to finding out and researching what's going on in our brain, and trying to replicate our brain onto a computer, right? Like, that's a big thing. So 100 years from now, I think the biggest thing to affect us is climate change. I still very much strongly stick with that point. And if we don't do something about it, 100 years from now is not going to be a pretty sight to see. It's definitely going to be a pretty ratchet world that we're going to be living in if stuff is continuing the way it is.
Ratchet.
Ratchet. Weird choice of words. But the point I'm trying to make is that if forgetting the climate change and hoping that that goes in the way we expect it to, not talking about climate change, talking simply about technology, I see so many possibilities, because remember, any advancement in a single technological field can help multiple oops, moved my mic here, sorry. It can help multiple divisions of science. You know, if we can advance Neuralink, it will revolutionize neuroscience, get people to understand truly what is happening in the brain, what these processes are doing, how they're talking to each other. Like, all of these things will kind of come hand in hand with increase in technology. And I kind of see a very revolutionary world, if we don't think about climate change for a second, in 100 years. Yeah, for sure. What about you, Parker?
I think there will be a colony on Mars easily by that time.
Yeah, for
Elon
sure.
Musk is
20
aiming
years,
for 1 million
30 years.
people by 2050.
Oh,
And
million people
I
by
don't think
2050?
A
That's,
million people.
I thought it was just
yeah,
colonized by 2050, like small colonies. I didn't know million people. That's quite a lot of
yeah,
people.
I mean that's what he tweeted, but I don't think 1 million people is realistic, but I do think like easily within 100 years there will be 1 million people at least on Mars. I
Terraforming
do
Wow.
also
a planet.
think, sorry.
No. Continue. I was just saying
Okay.
terraforming a planet, it would like, and
Okay.
colonizing it would be interesting. Yeah, continue.
Other than that, I also think that climate change will be sorted out within 100 years, or else like
Mhm.
it's either we sort it out or like we're just done.
We're
So
screwed.
so if we do make it to 100 years from now, it will be sorted out, and we will have like a completely different like system, right? Like I one thing that we didn't talk about that I actually thought of earlier was like the world vegetarianism diet, because of like like livestock and all that stuff produces a lot of like negative effects for the environment. And actually there's like a research paper written up. I don't have like the name off the top of my head, but basically if the entire world went vegetarian, like we could save a lot of greenhouse gases, a lot of resources that go into producing meat. Like I think for every kilogram of meat, like beef, it's like 1,000 liters of water. So something like that. Anyways,
Wow.
so I do think like a world like not necessarily diet, but like something that will unify the world to kind of think in a specific way that will be very specifically environmentally friendly.
Man, Parker wants to brainwash us to not procreate, stop eating meat,
I
and
Yo,
get rid of
mean,
the
Parker's going
stupid
crazy.
people.
I mean, it's not a terrible idea.
It's not. It's not actually.
Yeah. Um, Other than that, hopefully, like confirmed alien contact.
In a
I,
hundred
I
In
think,
years?
100
No way.
years.
yeah,
No way.
yeah,
No way.
that's what I
No
think.
way.
Wow.
A
I
100
think, yeah.
years in terms of like astronomical units is
No, like,
way too small.
no, Ray, I'm not saying, okay, contact was the wrong word. I'm not saying like an alien lands on the Earth. I'm saying we have like data
Yeah, like
that will
verifiable
prove like
proof.
beyond reasonable doubt that there are like extraterrestrials flying around in the universe.
I could see that.
That's what I think.
I
Wow.
mean, I really, I'm just gonna be honest. I do not see that in the next 100 years. That would be such an advancement into alien civilization, and it would just be amazing. I'm surprised that actually I just remembered we didn't talk about like Bob Lazar the entire podcast. Like, I don't believe
Well,
we went through the entire UFO podcast like an
I
hour
guess we
without
need.
mentioning
I guess
or talking
we
about.
need we
Yeah,
need to do another part on your podcast then.
we because if what he says is true, and you know, like what he is witnessing and what he is observing is true, then we have science like on lockdown. Like, we have understood science, because the things that he proposes, that he has seen, like anti-gravitational machines, and you know,
I think we should save this for the next
yeah,
episode,
okay,
because this
maybe
is
not,
going to
yeah,
go on
okay,
for a
basically
while.
point I was trying to get at is just, I don't see it happening in 100 years, because unless we can somehow figure out a way to, you know, make use of those quote unquote, like what we think, those UFOs. If we can actually make use of it, if we can understand it, then that would be key. Then yes, I can see that happening. But on like assuming that's true, I'm saying if that's not true, I don't see that. There's no way that's happening in
Right.
100 years. At least
Well,
that's my opinion.
maybe, maybe technology will advance to the point where we'll all be alive to see it and
I
to,
surely hope so. I surely hope. I really want to see something like this, man. Like
and
that
we
would be
can
so
see who
cool.
was right or wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining the podcast, Ray and Parker from
Absolutely.
Math and Physics. You guys want to just, I don't know if, do you guys have like social media or anything that you want to just like point
Parker.
out? And I'll
Yeah,
of course include
so
it in the script.
if you want to find our podcast, you can just search up Math and Physics Podcast on all platforms, including YouTube, where we
And Google.
post our recorded episodes. If you want to find us on Instagram, it's at math.physics.podcast. And on Twitter, it is at mathphysicspod.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Beautiful.
That's
Thank
it.
you so much, guys. This has been awesome. We got to do this again.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
having us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. That's true.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Also, a quick reminder to go check out our episode, like part 1, if you guys haven't. You know. So, like
Yes.
listeners, yeah, absolutely.